Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Oh, good day, everyone.
So there was a comment, and it was by a person that said, I can't understand how you could quote the Bible and yet not believe in the, traditional standard interpretations. Well, I think we could see clearer when we look at all angles. And as I said before, I believe in studying from all traditions, because just because something comes out of the Bible, and some people will believe that's the only truth, everything else must come from demons and dark forces. But yet there's prophecies from all different sorts of people. We talked about Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, Mother Shipton, the Hopi prophecies, the Dogon tribe. There's prophecies from every, single type of tribe, culture all over the world. Because we do have this collective consciousness that underlies things. And if we look to quantum physics, everything is interconnected, which is exactly the big secret of the Western mystery tradition, which in the West it has to be a secret because of the control of the church and the powers that be. But in the East, that was the great truth too. Ultimately, all are one, and this is how people could tap into things. You could tap into, get visions, but not necessarily the exact outcome, because there is free will and there's all these different individuals with their own free will going on at the same time and creating their reality as we are co-creators here. But it is fascinating to see all this, and especially to look at things that were written. Well, if we go to the book of Revelation, the oldest copies we have are from about 300 to 400 AD. So not right, it's not, we don't have definitive proof that it was even written by, John, as we are led to believe. People want to believe certain things. They want to believe it's infallible, even though there's revisions there. Yet at the same time, it's undeniable that you could look into something and see things going on today. Now, perhaps that type of thing can be done in other traditions as well, which we can. It's really clear when we see the Hopi prophecies. They seem so clear and very, very detailed. But I just wanted to share this with you guys. So this is the beast of Revelation. And it's interesting. I was looking at this from a different angle earlier today, because it talks all about a beast that almost appears to be dead, like a mortal wound to the head that is healed. And the second beast performed great signs to cause even fire from the heaven to come down to earth in the presence of the people. And because of the signs it was given to perform on behalf of the first beast, it deceived all those who dwell on the earth, telling them to make an image to the beast that had been wounded by the sword and yet had lived. So signs like fire from the sky and stuff, back in those days, things would have seemed a lot more mystical. Now we see fire from the sky now and we think lasers,
Yeah.
And when we see some of the documents that are out there, and how this has all been in planning for a long time. So what we got here is a PDF, and it's weather as a force multiplier. Owning the weather in 2025. This was published in 2012. And so the abstract in 2025, and that's an interesting year because, again, Deagle with the numbers, 2025 forecast, tremendous population loss in certain countries, including the United States and UK, and in fact, all NATO countries. So we see in 2025, U.S. aerospace forces can own the weather by capitalizing on emerging technologies and focusing development of those technologies to war-fighting applications. Such a capability offers the warfighter tools to shape the battle space in ways never before possible, including fire from the sky. Right? It has nothing to do with God. It has everything to do with the controllers of this world. And so the purpose of this paper is to outline a strategy for the use of a future weather modification system to achieve military objectives rather than to provide a detailed technical roadmap. A high-risk, high-reward endeavor, weather modification offers a dilemma not unlike the splitting of the atom. While some segments of society will always be reluctant to examine controversial issues, such as weather modification, the tremendous military capabilities that could result from this field are ignored at our peril. From enhancing friendly operations or disrupting those of the enemy via small-scale tailoring of natural weather patterns, to complete dominance of global communications and counterspace control, weather modification offers the warfighter a wide range of possible options, to defeat or coerce an adversary. Some of the potential capabilities a weather modification system could provide to a warfighting commander-in-chief are listed in the table. Technological advancements in 5 major areas are necessary for integrated weather modification capability: advanced nonlinear modeling techniques, computational capability, information gathering and transmission, global sensor array, and weather intervention techniques. Some intervention tools exist today, and others may be developed and refined in the future. Well, it's the future. It's 8 years later. And how much stuff has been really developed? That's a really interesting thought as we've seen a ton of satellites going into space. The Starlink alone, we're talking tens of thousands of satellites getting put up there. So what are some of them doing? What are they doing? What are they causing? How are they affecting the weather out there? We've seen some very unusual things happening, such as, before Hurricane Florence, we didn't see hurricanes just come to a stop. And think about, all the damage that does as we look at this diagram with artificial ionospheric mirrors. Yeah, it's really interesting. So, what is really going on here as we look here into the PDF, and I'll have the links for you guys. You can see operational capabilities matrix for degrading enemy forces, flood lines of communication, reduce PGM, reese effectiveness, decrease comfort level and morale, storm enhancement, right? Deny operations, deny fresh water, induce drought. Oh, is this drought that we have in the West really natural? And are all these storms just part of a grand solar minimum, or is there something else going on here? Fog and cloud removal and detecting hostile weather activities. So interesting. And then you have the enhancing friendly forces side over here as well. What's really going on?
It looks pretty suspicious, and I think they've been doing it for a very long time, and they probably have this down to an art and a science.
Yeah, most definitely. And again, it has absolutely nothing to do with God. And it's not God's judgment upon us at all. This is all, being done by entities that are, definitely not God with a big G. So current technologies that will mature over the next 30 years will offer anyone who has the necessary resources the ability to modify weather patterns and their corresponding effects, at least on the local scale. Current demographic, economic, and environmental trends will create global stresses that provide the impetus necessary for many countries or groups to turn this weather modification ability into a capability. In the United States, weather modification will likely become part of a national security policy, with both domestic and international applications. Our government will pursue such a policy depending on the interests at various levels. These levels could include unilateral actions, participating in a security framework such as NATO, membership in an international organization such as the UN, or participation in a coalition. Assuming that in 2025 our national security strategy includes weather modification, its use in our national military strategy will naturally follow. Besides the significant benefits, an operational capability would provide another motivation to pursue weather modification is to deter and counter potential adversaries. So in this paper, we show that appropriate application of weather modification can provide battle space and dominance to a degree never before imagined. In the future, such operations will enhance air and space superiority and provide new options for battle space shaping and battle space awareness. This technology is there waiting for us to pull it together. In 2025, we can own the weather.
That's pretty incredible. But the thing is this has been going on for so many years and years.
Yeah, I've showed it before where, we did declassified documents talking about weather modification and control that go way back, even to going back to World War II time, and even before that. It's pretty wild. So when we look at anything that's strange, unusual, that we've never seen before, record this, record that, we have to take this into account. And so, all those people that have always said, well, it's just an act of God, God is mad at us because we are not obeying him. Well, we're being played, is the bottom line, totally. And so, marveling over fire from the sky, whether it's, lasers or fiery missiles or whatever, something that maybe looks like a meteor but really isn't a meteor, we have to really put this into context as well and recognize, as we said before, weather wars. There are really weather wars going on, and ultimately it's all a war against humanity when you're down, boiling it down to its lowest level.
They definitely want to keep us down and sad and depressed and make it difficult for us to rise up and go within.
Look at the mindset. Just look at the mindset. And one thing too, going back to Revelation, is an admonishment to not take up the sword, because that's a little bit farther on down. So you could look at it like, it's all laid out there. The mark of the beast comes up next, which we were going to talk about that. And also, again, the advice is not to get pulled into the drama, because he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And we can see right now the drama is being put together, and it's being orchestrated to the highest degree, trying to get the right against the left against the right, trying to pit certain ethnicities against each other, certain races against each other. Because again, look at them. We can't have them united, because then who knows what they could do. So it's all about division. It's all about controlling everything from the weather on down.
Yeah, and when it comes to not being pulled into the BS, even in your own personal life, don't get sucked into the drama. Find that quiet space within, because it does, honestly, it starts with us.
It does. It most definitely does. And so again, compare, look everywhere, and get a bigger view of what's going on. As always, guys, thank you so much for your support on Ko-Fi and also on Patreon, because we could not do it without you. Stay prepared out there. God bless. Namaste.
Namaste.